Welcome to The Cynical Developer, the podcast that helps you to improve your development knowledge and career through explaining the latest and greatest in development technology and providing you with what you need to succeed as a developer. In this episode, we're going to be talking about getting promoted, no matter if it's from a junior developer to a developer, from a developer to a senior developer, or anything above, or any other technical role really. There are some fundamental targets that you should fulfill to make your employer recognise your worth, and some of these are what we're going to cover now. We're going to go over 6 tips, and these are: be reliable and build reliable software, master the architecture and learn it, get things done, be proactive in helping others to succeed as well, have a cool head and a good sense of humour, and if you can't change your job, then change your job. Now, these tips aren't silver bullets to getting that promotion, but they will help. And in some businesses, there just isn't the prospect of promotion. I've worked many companies who they don't really do promotion, and the only way to further your career is to look elsewhere. So before we start with the tips, you should think long and hard about why you want the promotion. Yes, the extra cash is going to be great, but along with the new position comes more responsibility for projects, for people, for their workloads and stuff like that. There's often more stress with it as well. Is this something that you want to get involved with? Can you handle that sort of thing? Because not every person is a people person. They're not all cut out for doing that sort of job. And the idea of managing a team can make their stomachs turn. And if you're moving up from a senior developer, there's a fair chance that the next jump that you're going to take is going to mean that your hands are off the keyboard, and it's going to land yourself in meetings after meetings after meetings, and where you're going to find yourself cutting code, it's just a distant memory. It's something that you used to do, but now you're answering emails, you're in meetings, and you're making sure that everyone else in the team is cutting code and you're not. Is that something that you want? So if you decided yes it is, then there's always the worry about taking that next step. Now, being slightly worried about taking that next position, it's a good thing. You should be a little bit apprehensive. I think it keeps you sharp and you understand that there will be more asked of you. So embrace that fear. Use it to reach those new heights. Use it to push yourself. Anyway, let's move on to what my tips are and helping you make that next transition. So the first one is be reliable and build reliable software. Now, tardiness is not a virtue. Showing up late for work, delivering projects late, it's not going to help you make that move up the ladder. So being late for appointments, aim to show up early. If you have to travel, check the traffic reports for your journey. Google offer a great app for it. I think it's Google Maps. That's available on Android and iOS. So there's no reason to not be aware of the traffic. If the meeting is internal and you don't need to worry about traffic and stuff like that, then be on time. A minute or two early is good. Just don't show up late ever, because it's going to make you look like you don't care and that you're not involved. Now, not delivering on time, that's your projects and tasks and things that you're given. If you promise to deliver by a date and you're not going to make it, you should have seen this really from a distance, well in advance. And if that is the case, it's good to speak to or email those expecting your deliverables so that you can revise the timelines. Don't give excuses, just give them the facts. Sometimes pulling an all-nighter can be done if it's critical that piece of work needs to go out, and maybe the fact that the reason why you're not hitting that deadline is because you've slacked off or you've struggled with something and it's your fault. That's the only time I would say put in those hours. Really, don't go over and above too much. Going over and above a little bit is great, but don't push yourself too hard and don't land yourself in too much stress and run yourself down. If you've got dinner plans or something like that of the night before a release and you're not ready to go, cancel those plans. Your friends and family are going to understand. So it's just a case of cancel those plans, reschedule it for another day, get your work done, and get your priorities right, because your employer is a little bit more important than your family sometimes. I'm probably going to get some hate mail over that comment. Now, reliable software. When you pick up a task or a project, your manager needs to have high confidence that you won't only solve the problem, but that you'll think around and through the problem and look at all the issues around that to build a really robust system. So you want your managers to think, I gave it to James. I'm sure there's a troubling aspect to this project, but he'll be all right. He'll be able to handle it. Now, that means thinking through the edge cases and all the eventualities and ensuring your solution can deal with them before it goes to QA, because you don't want that back and forth, because too much back and forth with the QA or your test team, whatever you call them in your business, is only going to undermine your standing in the eyes of your managers, your peers, and everyone around you, because they're not going to be able to trust what you write as being solid and reliable and robust, because you've got that back and forth. You're a little bit half-arsed with what you're doing. Pay attention to what you're trying to do. Test-driven development's a great way to deal with that, because you can build up all your tests around it, all the eventualities they're already thought of and already taken care of, and that's what you should be aiming for. So this is going to mean spending a little bit more time thinking through the problem before you start cutting code and coming up with a plan of attack. So you should end up with your code being robust, and that will inspire confidence in yourself and will make others want to emulate you. So set the bar high. Don't aim for the bar. Be that bar. Be proud of the quality of your code. If you've crafted something particularly elegant, show it off. Get the members of your team over and show them. Don't be a dick about it, obviously. Don't be, oh, look at me, I'm amazing. Look at what I've done. None of you plebs could do it. Just be proud about it. Explain why you've done things a certain way. Maybe you've seen other people do it a similar thing, but this is a better way. Tell them about it. Your team are going to respect you for it, and it'll make you the go-to person. So make writing high-quality code your hobby. Lead by example and show your team how good code can be. Make it readable. Have it in nice bite-sized chunks. Don't overcomplicate it, because the worst thing you can do is write a billion-line class and I open it, have others open it, and then look at it and think, what the hell does this do? What on earth is going on here? I don't know. So be the rule as well. Find time to read books on how to improve your craft, because that's going to set you above and beyond the rest as well. Some of them that I could advise you read, I'll include links to these in the show notes, and probably a few more that I'd advise. Clean Code by Uncle Bob or Rob Martin. Cleaner Code, which is like a follow-up book, again by Rob Martin. Code Complete, a practical handbook of software construction by Steve McConnell. And The Pragmatic Coder by Andrew Hunt. They're 4 really good books that I think every developer should read at some point. So as I say, I'll include some links in the show notes so you can go and have a look at those. And they are pretty good. These will help you master your craft, and mastering what you do on a day-to-day basis really leads me on to point 2, which is mastering the architecture, and play with it and learn it. And what I mean by that is the architecture of the system that you work on. Some of you out there may be in development shops that do lots of different systems for lots of different clients, but the vast majority of us are probably going to be working on large systems for a corporation of some sort. So always try to understand the architecture of that system, or the systems that you're going to be working with. Even if diagrams exist, create some architectural diagrams, either on paper or in something like Visio, because that's going to help you understand the flow of the system, how the data moves around, where it's stored, what all the little components are. It's something that I try to do myself when I'm looking at a new project. I will break it down in the section that I'm working on. I'll go and write a little flow diagram or something like that, just to get my head and my understanding around it, because it's always easy to listen to someone explain to you how a system works, but then you go and look at it the next day or the day after that, and you've forgotten Whereas at least for me, if I've put pen to paper, it's sort of in my head a little bit more. Don't be afraid to ask others in the team to confirm those findings that or those assumptions you've made. Play around with it, make a branch, tweak the code, understand what's happening, so you can alter certain features, think through the implications of the changes, and this will give you a solid base for when you need to actually make a real change. So, if you change X component, that it's going to have an impact on C and D component in a certain way, that you understand those repercussions. Now, I wouldn't suggest doing this during working hours unless you're new to a company or you've been given the time to explore the system. But once you've touched a lot of the system, you should have a good understanding of it. And this will help people to see you as the go-to guy for when they need help with changes that they're working on. The fact that they're not sure what the repercussions of their changes are going to be, but they think, oh, well, Jeff knows what to do. He's touched this part of the system before. Let's go and ask him and they'll come and say, well, look, I'm trying to make this change to this component, and I'm not too sure what a lot of the repercussions are going to be or how it's going to affect the system. Are you aware of anything that I should be aware of or need to take into consideration when I do this? And you could probably sit there for a minute and think about it and go, yes, actually, that is going to affect this, this, and this, so you probably need to do it in this way. People are going to respect that, and it's going to get back to the management that you're doing a really good job and that you're helping the others around you. So having the bigger picture in mind is a must. Too many developers are very blinkered by the small section of the system that they're working on. Make sure that you understand the system as a whole. Understanding its goals are paramount. So having this knowledge makes you an important asset to the team and the company, and you'll be able to quickly review and request changes and understand the probable impacts of them. You should be able to estimate how long each of these changes are going to take. Now, you're probably not going to understand or be able to accurately estimate how long Bob and Jeff and Tanya are going to take to do those changes, but you've got a good idea how long you'll take, and if they're not as experienced as you can always add a little bit on, give it a bit of a professional guesstimate. So that's going to make you a really valuable asset to the team, because you don't have to go and ask the other team members how long it's going to take them. You're going to have a good idea of how long it will, so you can fulfill that role. My third point is get things done. Now, this might seem pretty obvious. Complete the task that you're working on. But how many hours in a day do you usually spend fully focused on work? Go and add it up. I reckon that you'll probably be amazed to see that it's less than the 8 or 9 hours that you're at work. Maybe you're not that shocked, but you really should be aiming for as close to those 8 or 9 hours of productive time as possible. Now, meetings and things getting in the way are always going to be a problem. So if it is lower than the hours that you pay for, then you'll want to address that quickly. Putting in solid days' work every day and staying free from distractions will allow you to power through the workload, and it'll get you known as the person that gets stuff done. So people give you tasks and know that it's going to be done on time or before time, and that sets you in good stance. It'll build your reputation as the team's powerhouse, and all you're actually doing is managing your time more effectively and doing what you're actually being paid to do. Whereas most of us are probably only working for 5 or 6 hours a day when we're being paid for 8, because of all the distractions of things like email and meetings and all the other gump that's up there and goes on, spending too much time in Slack and things like that. So there are many different techniques out there for keeping focus. Now, a few of them that I've implemented, I'm going to go over. Now, be careful with a couple of these, because they could land you in a bit of bother, but it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is for permission. Keep that in mind. So my first one, only check email twice a day. Once in the morning when you first get in, and once after lunch. Now, when I implemented this, I didn't ask for permission to do this, so that I was only replying to my emails in the allotted times. I just did it. And the reason I did this is that I found myself replying to and checking my emails constantly all day, and I just didn't get anything done. Now, external customers, they often don't expect a response straight away, and within a few hours or by the next working day should be fine. If you do have certain circumstances where the customers have a tight SLA, then you could set up a rule in your mail client that it flags it and beeps and flashes and waves at you that an email from that company has arrived, so you can respond to that quickly. But generally, that shouldn't be the case, so you should be good for that. Internally, what I like to do is set up an auto reply saying, thanks for your email, I only check my emails twice a day and will respond when I check them. If your message is important, then please come and see me or give me a ring if you've got a desk phone at the time. This worked really great, and I was even complimented for taking the initiative. But be aware, you could also land yourself in hot water with this one. So be prepared to defend your reasons for doing it and the fact that you might have to just stop this technique or just disable that auto reply. So you're still only checking it twice a day, but people aren't getting it shoved in the face that that's what you're doing. Now, that I found really useful because I went from sitting in Outlook all day reading emails to spending 10-15 minutes in the morning, 10-15 minutes in the afternoon, and all the other time in between, except for meetings, I was able to concentrate and get stuff done. And it actually freed me up to work with the team and push those products out there. And at the time, I was doing a lot of proof of concept applications, so I knocked out loads of them in that time period. So it was definitely useful. My second technique is the Pomodoro technique. It's been around for a long time, and it's got a lot of devout users. And for those of you that don't know, this is a great technique for getting solid blocks of concentration time to work on your tasks and your projects. So if you're not too sure about what it is and how it works, I'll break it down into a couple of stages for you. Now, you need to set a timer for 25 minutes or use an app. There's loads out there that do it. I work on Windows. There's an app in the App Store called Focus 10. I use that. Great little app. And you just press play and it will run for 25 minutes and then it'll sound an alarm when you get to that. So you work on that task and you only work on that task until the timer goes off. I like to record in a notebook every Pomodoro that I complete. Now once that 25-minute period is up and the alarm has sounded, take a 5-minute break. In this time, go and get a coffee or take a walk to the water cooler, something just to clear your mind, get you away from your screen, get you off the problem that you're working on and frees your mind up, because we can only concentrate on a set process for so long, and this helps. And then what you do after that, once you're back after that 5 minutes, repeat the process 4 times, and at the end of the 4th session, take a 15 to 20 minute break, and then start the processing again. And you just keep going round and round and round. And you notice that you seem to get a lot more done by having those set blocks. Now, if during these sessions you get distracted with thoughts about other tasks that you need to do, push them to one side or jot them down and say to yourself, I'll check my email or my Amazon account in my break in a few minutes. And realistically, everything's only a maximum of 25 minutes away from being able to do it. So it's not that hard to do. Because you need to be concentrating for that 25-minute block. It's hard for most people to concentrate on a single thing for longer than 25 minutes, and that's why these sessions are set to that period. Some people can concentrate longer. I know on most days I can concentrate for a 2-hour block, but then my mind starts to wander. But I still try to stick to the 25-minute Pomodoro. That's a lot harder to concentrate for longer periods if you're not really enjoying the bit of code that you're working on. It's a little bit boring. So the 25 minutes are a fantastic length of time for me. So when you start out, you may only be getting 4, 5 or 6 full Pomodoros completed in a day, which is about average. But eventually you'll be able to build up to do 16. But don't worry about getting that every day, as there's always distractions, there's always meetings, there's always something else getting in the way. You're not always going to get 16, but try and get as many as you can. And maybe even start like a little competition with your team members. How many did you do today? Oh, I did 7. Oh, I got 10 in today. Oh, bloody hell, Jeff's at it again. He's done 19 today. He comes in far too early and stays too late. Gamifying stuff really helps, and I like it. I know in one of the Slack channels that I'm in, we have a Counting by Pomodoro's channel where we all just increment the number every time we complete a Pomodoro, and we have a little bit of a challenge to see who can get the next number that's relative to programming. We had a big spate through the 400s of putting all the page not found and all those error codes, and the 500s and stuff like that. That was it was good. Again, gamifying what we're working on. So point 4, be proactive in helping others. Now, I did mention this a little bit earlier, but just because you aren't the team leader or you're not the boss, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't help anybody else in the team to succeed. If you see someone on the team that's struggling, offer to help them if you can. This is your opportunity to impress on them and the team that you are someone that they can rely on. Help the newbies get up to speed. Ask if they need any tips and give feedback when you're looking at their code. Always enthusiastically help them with whatever needs to be done, no matter how stupid their comment is, because I can say from personal experience that I will probably ask the same question 3 or 4 times about the same bit of code just to get it in my head. Now, don't be annoyed by it. It's just how some people pick it up and how people learn. So you should not be So you should be on the lookout for all of those in your team that need help, and mentoring those in your team is fantastic as well. It's a great attribute for any leader, and I say leader is you don't really need to be a boss or a manager to be a leader. It's a great way to position yourself for the team. Your team will see you as that go-to guy, as that team lead, and it shows your line managers and those that are above them and surrounding them that you're the person who helps that team meet their commitments every single time. If there's something that needs doing, you're the guy for it, and it's just more feathers in your cap to say, do you know what? Without you, this team wouldn't succeed. This business wouldn't be delivering what it's delivering. So you got to be a little bit selfish and be that person. Put the team and everything on your shoulders and make those commitments. So number 5, this is something, at least half of it, I personally struggle with, which is have a cool head and have a sense of humour. Now, I can have the sense of humour. My cool head sometimes gets lost, and everybody's does. But aiming to have a cool head is a must. The nature of the beast is that requirements change, business direction changes. You need to be able to deal with that. Don't be the guy who just complains about all the changes and sits in his ivory tower and straight up just refuses to change anything. I wrote this and it does the job, and I don't care how rubbish it really is. I'm going to defend it to the death. Get involved, embrace the changes. Be willing to accept criticism from those around you, even if it's the new guy that's just come in out of uni. Maybe he knows something that you don't. And don't get irate about it. So try and take any adversity in your stride. Look at those changes as a chance to expand your experiences and test your abilities and your resolve. In some cases, laughing off the murderous rage that you've got built up inside you because the boss just told you that the project you've been working on for the last 6 months is being canned. That's going to help. It's amazing how smiling and laughing about a problem just relieves that stress. Straight away, it's gone. Yeah, it's still annoying, but you can deal with it and just get on with it. It's what you're there for. It's what you're getting paid to do. So do it. Now, avoid the temptation to bitch and snipe about co-workers to your colleagues, especially at work events and when you're drinking as well. Yeah, I know it's hard, but you never know who is really a friend and who's loose lips, and who'll run off and tell someone that you've just been blasting them, and you don't even know who's actually listening in on your conversation. So be on your guard. Don't be too familiar about problems and things. Come home, bitch to your friends and your family about it, and bore the wife or the husband up the wall with problems you got in the office. But try and not slag people off in the workplace, because it's just going to make you look like an idiot, really, because people aren't going to respect you and they're going to think, well, what's he saying about me behind my back? So our final tip is really to be taken if you've tried everything and the company's not going anywhere and it's time for a change. So number 6 is, if you can't change your job, then change your job. So some companies that you work for would just not give you that much thought. They don't give any thought really to their staff and their progression, and it's just not there. They don't do any personal development. They don't offer any training. They don't offer any real incentives. Now, depending on your line manager, it may well be worth speaking to them about it and seeing if they understand. If they don't, maybe you can help them to understand, but you may find yourself talking to a brick wall, and in that case, it's time for a change. So when you end up in a dead-end job where the future is pretty bleak, it's probably time to move on. If you aren't looking to move up the ladder, you can always move sideways. Now that's to a position of equal ranking, or you could even move down the ladder. I've personally made all 3 trips. I've gone up, I've gone down, and I've gone sideways. So I can tell you that they're all viable, and please don't jump at the first position that comes along. Trust your instincts about them, about these jobs that come along and these recruiters that tell you that this job's fantastic. If you go in and you meet the guys for an interview and the job doesn't look that great on your first impressions, it probably isn't. I've been in that position where I've sort of double guessed myself and gone in and thought, it's a bit shit. And then thought, no, I'll give them a second chance. Met them again and it's been fine. And thought, yeah, okay, we'll go for it. And it's not turned out to be right. Always trust your instinct. Now, I'd say it's better to be in a job that isn't going anywhere for a little while longer than jump into a new position where the business is ruined by idiots and you just won't be happy. And this is something I'm, again, talking about from personal experience. I've been there and I've done that. Jumping ship straight away isn't always the best answer. Always evaluate the situation and make sure that it's the right choice. And don't let recruiters push you into it, because some of them can be pretty pushy. Now, a change is as good as the rest, as they say. So moving to a new company with new challenges, it can feel like a promotion. So if you're just doing that side step or you're stepping down a little bit, it can still feel like you've gone up. Especially, if you're moving to a better company who've got people there that will help develop you and your skills. And it's a place where you can learn a lot from the members of the team. Promotion doesn't always have to be about the money and the power. It can be about learning and improving yourself as a developer. So don't always be blinkered by money. Although we all like a nice pay rise, don't we? So we covered 6 points in this episode. Be reliable and build reliable software. Master the architecture. Play with it and learn it. Get things done. Be proactive in helping others in the team and around you succeed. Have a cool head and a sense of humour. And if you can't change your job, change your job. Now, these tips will help you to achieve that next progression. But as I said at the start, they aren't the silver bullets. Don't just sit there and think promotion will come and find you. 9 times out of 10, it's not going to. You need to chase it. You need to ask for it. You need to prove that you're the person for that promotion. Look at it from a business owner's point of view. Your employer is paying you X amount a month to do a job. You suddenly start producing 10 times the output. You're helping the team to develop. And now the whole team is producing 10 times the output. Fantastic. If your employer can get away with paying you and your team that same X amount for that 10 times output, then they're going to do it. It's financial sense. So be proactive, get out there and push for what you want, what you need. And above all else, you deserve. You're putting in the effort, you should be rewarded. So I'm hoping it's inspired you to do that little bit more and get yourself out there. And let me know, did these tips help you make that next jump? Did it give you the confidence to make that next jump? So that's it for this episode. Make sure you subscribe. In the next episode, we continue on this sort of self-improvement topic because we talk to John Somers of simpleprogrammer.com about soft skills for developers. So I hope you subscribe and you listen to what John's got to tell us, because there's some good stuff in that episode. Thank you for listening to The Cynical Developer. I'm James Stoddart, and this was tips for getting yourself promoted. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review on your favourite podcast platform and help The Cynical Developer to grow by increasing its audience. If you have any questions about this or any other episode, then drop us an email, a tweet, or leave a comment on the website where you can find all the resource links and show notes for each episode.